Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. This is your course instructor Waqas Saki, and today this is the first week of a subject strategic management, and I'm going to give you the introduction of the course today, as well as I'm going to discuss the course outline, and we are going to discuss uh, two concepts: the strategy and the operational. So, what is the strategy and what are the operations? We are going to discuss these concepts today, and as well as I'm going to discuss the complete course outline and the contents with you. As you are going to see on the screen, I have 15 weeks distribution, and I have divided the material into these weeks, and I'm going to upload these folders. Uh, as you can see that in week 9, 10 and 11, I have combined some of the material in one folder, because for these 3 weeks we are going to have one kind of material, and same is going to happen in the week 13, 14 and 15. So let's have a brief introduction of uh, week 1 first of all. My dear students, you can see we are going to have 3 files over here. The first one is a course outline, which is I'm going to discuss with you. Then there is a book of strategic management concepts and cases, which I'm going to share with you. And then there is a small PPT slides, strategy versus operations, which we are going to discuss today. That what is strategy and what is operations. So we got to know that what is the difference of the subject. Strategic management is there with the subject of principles of management, which you have studied before somewhere in your semester or in some previous program. So first of all, I'm going to discuss the course outline with you. Uh, this is the course outline, my dear students. So, my dear student, this is the course outline which is in front of your screen. Uh, First of all, this is the 3 credit hour course, and I'm your course instructor Wakasaki. And you can see the course description over here. First, I'm going to discuss the course description. My dear student, this course is going to have a focus on the analysis and the synthesis. So, it means the subject is not about some fundamental basics, but it is more about doing or performing some analysis. But what analysis and what synthesis we are going to do in this subject? Underpinning sound strategic method. So we are going to have some of the analytical tools of strategic management, and some of the theories about the strategic management. And now we are going to uh, analyze and synthesize those theories and analytical tools in this subject. Furthermore, this subject, what is strategic management? Strategic management is concerned with the long-term direction. The first parameter, it is a long-term direction. It is not for the short term. As we have discussed in the principles of management, that subject was about some short-term goals, short-term plannings. Whatever day-to-day needs are going to be uh, there, managers are going to deal with those things. So this subject, the strategic management, is not going to deal with the day-to-day routines. It is it's going to have more concern about the long-term direction, as well as the scope and performance of an organization. What is the scope? Scope is about what an organization is going to see. It means the vision and the mission. That is going to define the scope of an organization, and the performance into that direction of the scope and to the direction of long-term perspectives. So this is the strategic management, and whether the overall strategy of an organization emerges from the interplay of functional department, or is a grand plan devised by one group. This is the most important concept. As you can see, there are some operational activities, operational needs of an organization, and there's something which are going to be which are going to have a kind of strategic impact and the strategic kind of goals and perspective of an organization. So we have to see that either the organization is going to have some kind of functional perspective or is going to have some grand plan, some long-term plan made by some top management or a group, specific group. So this is going to be identified into the strategy, and this topic today we are going to discuss after the goals outline. Its success is contingent on the fit that is made between the organization and related environment dynamics. My dear student, the strategy which is going to be made, which is going to be implemented, is going to have a good fit between the organization and to the related environmental dynamics. What are the environmental dynamics? We're going to discuss in detail, but in short, we can say that the external environment of the organization, which is going to have two parts, one is the micro and one is the macro, or we can say the general or the specific. So organization's internal environment should have a good fit with the organizational external environment. So we need to look at these two different perspectives. The actions of organization are simultaneously result of these dynamics and a cause of them. So every action an organization is going to take, that is a result of those dynamic environmental changes. As organization look at those changes and take the required measures or the steps that how to deal with these changes. Hence, a continuous accurate analysis and synthesis of environmental and organizational interaction is a critical component of successful strategy. So what an organization need to do, they need to analyze and synthesize the environment and the organizational interaction. Okay, so this is more important thing because it creates a successful strategy which becomes a critical component of any organization. So this is the course description. Let's look at some of the learning objectives, as this course outline is going to have 5 learning objectives. The first one is the student would be able to critically analyze the internal and external environment in which business operate and assess the implication of forecast changes. My dear students, as I told you that strategy is more about the uh, good fit of internal environment according to the changes which are going to be occur into the external environment. So we need to adjust ourselves into that direction, that how the external environment is moving, how it is interacting, how it is going to responding, and accordingly we are going to brought some changes into the internal environment of the organization. Then number 2, apply understanding of the theories, concepts, and tools that support strategic management in organization. So my dear students, this gives us an view that how to analyze the internal versus the external environment and how to make the strategies accordingly. Now, number 2, apply understanding of the theories, concepts, and tools that support strategic management in organization. So we are going to discuss many theories as I'm going to discuss in the contents coming ahead in the next page. That what theories we are going to discuss. For example, IO theory, which is going to be called the industrial organizational theory, then the resource-based view theory, then the triple bottom line theory. So we are going to discuss these theories and then the concepts and tools that support strategic management in organization. Number three, individually and collaboratively evaluate and synthesize information and existing knowledge from numerous sources and experiences. So we're going to discuss many of the case studies, as well as we're going to discuss many of the research papers which are going to be written into this regard. So we got to know what the knowledge base is present for the strategic management. Number four, apply appropriate tools, theories, and concepts to analyze strategic issues in organization and to develop options for implementation. So, my dear student, in point number four, you can see that we are going to discuss different tools. For example, the tools which we are going to discuss here, they include uh, the IFE matrix, EFE matrix, comparative profile matrix, space matrix, SWOT analysis. We are going to discuss different strategies which are available there. Then we are going to have the space matrix or IE matrix or QSMP matrix or GSM matrix. So these are different tools which we are going to discuss. And when we talk about the theories, there are multiple theories. For example, IO theory, industrial organization theory, and then we are going to have a resource-based view theory, and we are going to have another which is going to be called the triple bottom line theory. So we are going to add all of these things, and then concept to analyze strategies, issues in organization. Then we need to discuss that how these theories and tools are going to be utilized to analyze the strategic issues in the organization and to develop options for implementation. So these are some of the important things which we are going to discuss in the point number four. Then we are in need to discuss the student would be able to participate consecutively in team situation to complete tasks and meet agreed deadlines uh, in line of the uh, strategic management. Then, my dear students, we need to discuss the teaching and learning methodologies. Let's discuss some of the important concepts. This course delivers all critical material in a 3-hour lecture each week. Okay, so we are going to have a 3 hours uh, working lectures of each week. Each lecture includes the recorded lecture as well as the tutorial session uh, onto this, which will run for an hour each week, provide an opportunity for students to workshop concepts, theories, and tools and models to advance their understanding through questions, discussions, and presentations. So this is the way we are going to study this course. Then at least 3 hours of study time is required for each lecture over and above the contact hours of the lecture. Mean you need to spend extra 3 hours uh, onto the discourse and tutorial workshops in each intensive. Mean you need to read the material, you need to read the book, you need to prepare your assignments, quizzes, and all those things. Then this expectation is considered to provide the level of study required in order to achieve an effective understanding of the course material. So you need to spend at least the equivalent time onto your course by yourself. My dear student, then this course implies a variety of teaching methods, which includes the lectures, individual and group exercises, as well as the case studies. But the most important part of this subject is research orientation, as this subject is offered to MPhil students. So different research paper will be given to the students to read and analyze, and students will be asked to share their analysis with the class. I will discuss these research papers as the first 4 week of this course are totally research based, and then I have added some of the material by myself, and then we will have some further discussion and analysis. The textbook which we are going to use is the Strategic Management 16th edition, Fred David. Although I have provided you the 13th edition because at the moment I'm going to have I have the access of 13th edition soft copy. But as soon as I got the 16th edition soft copy, I provided to you. But I would like to mention here that 13 and 16 edition has no remarkable differences. The only change is the reshuffling of the chapter done by the author. Number one. Number two, some of the example and the case studies are going to be changed. And there's nothing different in these two editions as I have analyzed the hard copy of the 16th edition and it has no changes there. Then about the reference books, we are going to have these two reference books. The first is the Strategic Management and Business Policy. That is a 15th edition of Weaven and Hunger. And the second is the Contemporary Strategy Analysis, ninth edition of the Robert M. Grant. I provide you these books as well in the soft form, so you have no need to go and buy some hard copy of a book from any bookshop into this pandemic situation. So you stay at your home and stay safe as I provide you the e-books of uh, e-copies of these books. My dear students, now we need to discuss the grading policy, which is very important in the wake of online classes. We have some changes here. Like you can see, we didn't have the midterm examination over here. So the quizzes, case studies, all the research readings are going to have a 20% weightage. Okay. So again, the assignments are going to have the 20% weightage. Project presentation is going to have a 10% weightage. Class participation is going to have 10%, but that's going to be divided into the two parts. Number one is the class participation, and number two is the online attendance. So these two are going to be divided into the two parts, the 10% of the total weightage. Then we are going to have the 40% of final exam. If you have any objection, any query, you want to discuss something out of it, you just write down your questions, and we are going to have a discussion at the end of this video. Then different virtual resources which we can use, but not mention any resources at the moment over here. But yes, we can discuss them later on. Oh, I'm sorry. Um, this is the week-wise distribution of your course contents. Like you can see, we're going to have different weeks and then contents and the activities. The first is the introduction. As now at the moment we are into the introduction session, and we are going to have some brief about the strategic management as well. What we are going to have in this week, I provide you some of the reading materials, like I provide you the e-textbook, and all related material will be given to the students, and course plan will be discussed along with the marks distribution. As we have done the marks distribution, we have discussed that, and patterns of evaluations are also going to be discussed. My dear student, uh, in the second week, I have provided you a research paper written by Mr. Henry Mintzberg, one of the management guru. He has written this research paper in 1988. I'm not going to say that he has written, he has extracted this research paper out of his uh, PhD dissertation. Okay, so this is a classic theory of strategic management which will be discussed with you people. What you need to do, you can download this from the course material from the Google, and you need to uh, discuss uh, this research study with me. Okay, so you need to do the analysis, you need to write down the important points, and I'm going to ask you different questions about this research paper, that what he has done, what is the different perspectives of the crafting strategy, and on to your responses I'm going to mark your class participation. Then, my dear students, we are going to have the chapter week 3. Week 3 is going to have uh, these concepts, strategies versus operations, which we are going to discuss in today's lecture as well. Then identify and evaluate the needs of organization. Mean operational effectiveness is not a strategy. Strategy rests on unique activities. A sustainable strategic position requires trade-off. All of these concepts are going to be discussed from the research paper of What is Strategy, written by Michael Porter. Michael Porter, who has given the uh, different uh, competitive strategies as well. He has defined some of the competitive strategies, as well as he has given the basis of competitive advantages, and he also identified the micro external environmental factors. Mean five forces model is given by the Mr. Michael Porter. So he has written this research paper of what is strategy. So I'll provide you this research paper. You need to read this paper, and at the end of the session, we are going to have a discussion, as well as I'll provide you a case study which you are going to submit me onto the fourth week. Okay, so you need to solve this case study and submit, and I'll consider this that you people should not have the same answers. Okay, so you need to write down your own answers, each of you. So this is the week 3. Then, my dear students, we will move to the week 4. Week 4 will cover the theories, as I discussed with you that strategic management is going to have multiple theories. So we are going to have the industrial organizational approach theory. Then we are going to have a resource-based view theory, which combines the value, variety, immutability, and organization VRIU concept. So we are going to discuss the resource-based view. Then the triple bottom line approach, that we are going to discuss how this triple bottom line approach is going to have impact. So I'll provide you these three uh, uh, case study research papers, and you need to read these research paper before coming to the class, and then we are going to have a good discussion on to these topics, and I'll discuss these theories with you people by myself as well. But I need you to read these uh, theories before coming to the class, so we will have a productive discussion at the end of the session. Okay, so here we are going to have a quiz number 1 as well, from the topics of session 1 to session 3. So you should be ready, and the pattern of the quiz would be the MCQs based. Okay, then we'll move to the week number 5. Sorry, my dear students. This is the week number 5, that we're going to have a strategic management. Then we are going to discuss the strategic management process, types of organization strategies, corporate portfolio analysis, and strategic management today. My dear students, from this week now, uh, I will provide you my recorded lecture into the PPT format. What you need to do, you need to download those PPTs, and when you're going to press F5, or you're going to the slideshow of those PPTs, you'll get my voice recorded onto those slides, and you can listen to those lectures, and then we can have the discussion onto those topics into the classroom. Again, in the week 6, we are going to have a discussion onto the nature of strategic management, key terminologies, uh, strategic management model, what is the strategic management model, how we are going to perform different activities into it, and benefits of strategic management. So these are the discussion points we're going to have in the chapter of nature of strategic management, and the case study will be discussed, which was given the last class as assignment. So we will have discussion onto it, as well as the case study given should be solved and submitted as second assignment. So uh, what you need to do, you need to submit your case study onto the seventh week. Okay, so this is the week 6, and I can ask different questions from the different students, and I select those students randomly. Then, my dear students, we will move on to the next chapter of the business vision and mission. Okay, in this chapter, we are going to discuss what do we want to become, what is our business, importance, benefits of vision and mission statement. What are the different characteristics of mission statement? As there are 9 characteristics, we are going to discuss those characteristics, and then writing and evaluating the mission statements. We are going to have a practice session, how to write and how to evaluate different mission statements. Okay, so this is all about the seventh week, and here we are going to have a quiz number 2 from the topics of session 5 and session 6, and quiz would be MCQs based. Now, my dear students, very important chapter, business ethics, social responsibility, and environmental sustainability. We're going to discuss this chapter. We're going to have discussion on to the business ethics. What is the business ethics? How we can implement that? What are the social responsibilities of an organization, and the environmental sustainability of the organization? Okay. So for the further discussion, we are going to have 3 documents over here. Code of Conduct of Abacus Company, which I'll provide you. Code of Ethics of Bank Alpha, and Sustainable Performance Report of ICI Pakistan. And I'm going to allocate allot these readings to different groups of people. You are going to make your group, and I'll assign these topics for the presentation to you, and the presentation is going to be held into the session number 9, and detailed report on the above given documents will be submitted in the 9th week as the third assignment. Okay, uh, there are some instructions which need to be followed. That submission of the assignment is due in the 9th week. The same would be followed by a presentation or a question and answer session from the randomly selected students. Now we need to discuss the external assessment. Uh, External assessment is the chapter, the next chapter, which includes the macro external environmental analysis, micro external environment analysis, and in this chapter we are going to learn how to analyze the opportunities and threats from the micro and macro external environment. Then we are going to study the EFE matrix, mean external factor evaluation matrix, and finally we'll study the comparative profile matrix. And at the end of this week, we are going to 9th and 10th week, we are going to have a practice session onto the EFE and CPM, and you need to perform the analysis, the above given analysis onto your project, and I'll allot different organizations to you as mentioned here, that you have been allotted different organization in the form of clubs, and you're going to perform the EFE matrix and comparative profile matrix and IFE matrix onto those organizations. In chapter 10, you're going to perform the internal assessment. You're going to identify the strengths and weakness of the organization, and then you are going to perform the internal environmental analysis. Evaluation of strengths and weaknesses is going to perform, and it results in the shape of IFE matrix. Okay, so these are the some other instructions written about it, that with approval of instructor you are going to choose the organization and submit the IFE, EFE, CPM matrices in 12th week. Okay, I can change it that IFE, EFE and PM in the 12th week. So the same would be followed by a presentation from randomly selected students. Uh, Now we need to discuss the strategies in action. That's the next chapter, which is going to discuss different type of strategies. For example, it is going to discuss the integration strategies, intensive strategies, diversification strategies, defensive strategies. Then we're going to discuss the Michael Porter's 5 generic strategies, and then we will discuss different means for achieving the strategies, mean what means we can use to achieve those strategies. Here we are going to have a quiz number 3 from the session topics from the session 9 to session 11. So you need to be get ready into the 12th week for the quiz number 3. In 13 and 14th week, the strategy analysis and choices. The nature of strategy analysis and choices, the input stage, matching stage, and decision stage is going to be done. And in this 15th week, start of the 15th week, you need to perform all the analysis, including the matching and decision stage, onto the allotted organization, and you need to submit your final project report onto the Turnitin. So it means you should not have the plagiarism in your documents. My dear students, I want to mention that this project which you're going to do is a kind of a action research. There are two types of research. One is the basic research and second is the action research. So in this chapter, in this subject, you are going to perform the action research. Okay. So the next thing is implementation strategy, management and operation issues we are going to discuss. Uh, the nature of strategy implementation, resource allocation, managing conflicts, matching structure with the strategy, restructuring, re-engineering, and e-engineering of the organization, linking performance and pay to the strategies, and managing resistance to change and creating a strategy supportive culture. So these are some of the important concepts which we are going to discuss in this subject. So I hope you have understood the fundamentals of this subject. Now look at different contents which I'm going to share with you people. This is the contents of week 1. In week 2, you can see here I have the document of crafting strategy with you in the form of Word as well as in the form of PDF. So these are going to have some minor differences, as I have taken two different sources of crafting strategy article, and in the both places Mr. Henry Mitzberg has submitted this article with minor changes. So you can look at these two things. Now week 3 is going to include the classic theory of what is strategy of Harvard Business Review, and you need to read this, and we're going to have a discussion at the end of the session. Now the week 4 is going to have three uh, theories: the industrial organizational theory. I'm going to open these theories, then the resource-based view theory, and the final is the triple bottom line. So these three contrasting theories we are going to discuss into this lecture. So first is the industrial organization theory of the 3 pages, you can say, not actually 3 pages, the 2 pages theory, not 2 pages, 1/2 page. And then we are going to have a triple bottom line theory. I'm going to discuss the main fundamental differences of these theories with you people, and I'll let you know how these theories are going to contrast each other, and then we are going to have a discussion onto the resource-based view theory as well. Sorry, it's going to take some time into my system. I don't know why I'm not able to open the resource-based view theory. Okay, it is open. in a separate document. Yes. So this theory is written by J. Burney in 1991. So that is the resource-based view theory, and it is going to discuss the VRIO concept, which we have discussed. Uh, see into the course outline. So you need to read this theory before coming into the classroom. So then we are going to have a healthy discussion onto these things. So these are the VRIO. The first is the valuable resources, second is the rare resources, and third one is the uh, imperfectly immutable resources, and final the fourth one is the O, which is the organizational resources. Okay, so we are going to discuss these theories into the chapter week 4, and in week 5, my dear students, you have the recorded lecture from my side, into which I have recorded my voice, and you are going to open these slides, and then you need to just press F5 or the slideshow button, and then you can listen my recorded lecture. Week 6 is going to have a chapter of nature of strategic management, and then we are going to have a vision and mission statement chapter in week 7, and then week 8 we are going to have ethics CSR recorded lecture, as well as the 3 documents which I have discussed with you, that goes of code of business ethics of bankers, code of conduct of uh, Bank of and sustainability report of ICI Pakistan. Then week 9, 10 and 11 is going to have external and internal assessment, uh, as well as we are going to discuss have the presentation onto the ICI Pakistan report, uh, as you have to give the presentation into the 9th week. And in week 12 we will discuss the strategies in actions, and in week 13, 14 and 15 we are going to have a topics of implementation strategies, as well as the strategic analysis and choice. So my dear students, it's all about the introduction of this course. Now we are going to you need to listen my PowerPoint slides, which are going to be uploaded onto your portal.